Okay, so we are talking Formula One here on Mystery Caution. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed before, if you're an F1 fan, as well as NASCAR. Don't forget, you can check out our NASCAR preview here on Mystery Caution of the Brickyard 400. And you can also check out our starting lineup report for the Brickyard on Saturday at Prime Sports Network. We'll have a link in the description so you can check it out as quickly as that. All right, so we had a week off to talk F1. Didn't get that opportunity last week, CJ. But all of a sudden, what is going on in F1? Max Verstappen's not winning every week. This is good stuff. So Hamilton got the win.
Hamilton got
Again.
the win. Nine home race wins for him. Absolutely astounding. This was, again, proof positive of my theory that we need to be wetting down every single track that we race on in every series because it spices up the action and makes things more unpredictable. Lewis Hamilton, great to see Mercedes with back-to-back wins, mind you. So George Russell, remember, he won the race before in Austria, and then Lewis Hamilton coming out here and winning again. It's his last home Grand Prix with Mercedes before he switches over to Ferrari too. So this means certainly a lot to him. He started on the front row, which was great for him. Teammate George Russell qualified on the pole. Keep in mind that both days on the weekend from a qualifying and racing perspective were wet and dry. So that definitely threw things into the mix a little bit more unpredictable. Max Verstappen ended up starting fourth. Lando Norris, who I think I had for the pole, wound up starting third. The race was exceptional. There was wet and dry throughout. It was all about who made the right call to switch to the proper tires at the right time. And I mentioned last week when we were talking about NASCAR that McLaren screwed Lando Norris yet again. They did. They pitted one lap too late 2 times, and then also put Lando on the wrong compound tire for the run into the finish, so he wasn't able to catch up. He really had no chance with that. Verstappen and Hamilton, Mercedes and Red Bull, they made the right calls. They both stopped a lap before Norris. Norris also, his McLaren team on his last stop ended up having a problem, so it was a slow stop too. But Verstappen was actually closing in on Hamilton in the closing laps after it dried out. That car came to life in the dry, and with the conditions as they were, for whatever reason, in the wet and tricky conditions, the Red Bull just didn't give him what he needed. Hamilton's Mercedes gave him what he needed, and therefore Hamilton came out on top. Verstappen just kind of ran out of time with his run and chasing down Hamilton to the finish. He ended up finishing, Verstappen did, just under a second and a half behind Hamilton.
And Hamilton did start second in the race, so it wasn't like he came from a little back. Matter of fact, 11 of the 12 winners this year have started, 10 of the 12 have started either first or second. So I want to do something a little bit new here, and that is that because this is free, so you can get this. I'm not athletic. There's some things that you have to pay for, but I would not be showing you this if this wasn't free. So you can order. Matter of fact, I'll try to remind myself to put in a link where you can sign up for free. Prime Tire. It's a newsletter. It's a motorsport. That's an F1 newsletter from The Athletic. So what we're going to do is kind of just go over, because it's been a few weeks, some of the things that they've talked about, because this is what I try to do to catch up on things. And so here, and again, by the way, this is unscripted. I haven't talked to CJ about any of this stuff. So does this matter much, CJ? Bierman at Haas?
Absolutely. If you remember, Oliver Behrman came in to substitute for Carlos Sainz at Ferrari when Sainz had appendicitis in Saudi Arabia, and Behrman stepped in and drove a fantastic race weekend, having barely had any time in the car and absolutely no time in the car on track before he actually basically had to put it on qualifying. He did an absolute fantastic job, and he's earned his right to be able to step up into Formula One, and he's going to Haas now. So we still have, as I mentioned, Lewis Hamilton leaving Mercedes, going over to Ferrari. So Sainz has yet to announce where he's going to go. Is he going to get picked up, or is one of these Haas drivers going to end up being without a ride? And we talked about Nico Hulkenberg as well as Kevin Magnussen. So Kevin Magnussen, the penalty guy, for those of you who've been following along, I think he's probably going to be the one that's out, though there is question also about who might be out at Williams, because the latest rumor about where Carlos Sainz is going to end up is that he's going to end up taking one of the Williams seats. I also saw an article that Adrian Newey, if you remember a couple weeks ago when we talked about him leaving Red Bull and what a loss for Red Bull that is, I saw a rumor a couple of days ago that Adrian Newey might wind up at Williams with a completely new challenge as well, which that would be good for Carlos Sainz. If he and Newey both show up at Williams, I think they would take a step forward on the grid for sure.
Okay. Let's see. Here's a poll. Readers rate the 2024 Australian Grand Prix with 142 responses. Surprise, everyone liked the Austrian Grand Prix. I didn't say Australia, did I? Austrian Grand Prix. So,
no surprise, we didn't have Red Bull domination, so of course people are going to like it. No surprise there.
Look at that. For the first time this season, not a single one of you said the previous weekend's race was bad or awful. Not one. And of course, we talked about this on our show a couple of weeks ago. So, and there was also, I know there was something. What was the other thing in here? Didn't they? I believe the title. Is this in here? Let me see. Yeah, Brad Pitt's F1 movie finally has a name.
Apex.
I don't know where it is, but do you know what the name is?
I think it's Apex.
Apex. APEX?
Correct.
Okay. So,
very creative.
Yeah, right. We waited that long for that?
Yeah.
Is this it?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Hopefully it's better than Driven.
Oh boy, that one was a little bit more predictable. Okay, all right. So that was that. Let's see.
Oh wait! Scroll back. Is it F1? Is that what that said?
What's
I thought
that?
it was X.
Where
is called F1? No, really. Lewis Hamilton film along Apple is F1. I was wrong. I swear I read that they named it Apex.
Oh, really?
My goodness. So it's just F1. Wow. That's even worse. Apex, surprisingly, would have been even more creative.
F1. Isn't that the name of the series?
That's terrible. That is terrible.
Okay. Very interesting. Let's see. Let me get to... No, I don't want to compose a message. Let me see. Where is it? There it is. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Let's see. And this is titled, wait a minute, is F1 fun again? Question mark. F1 is so back, delivering the goods this season. So again, this was, by the way, this was last week. This was after the race. Yeah.
Yep.
There you go. There's Lewis Hamilton right there. So, yeah, let's see. Number of different F1 Grand Prix winners per season. Look at this. 6 already.
Rising.
How many more races?
We've got 22 in total. So I have to do math here.
Is that real? Just 2 last year? Is that the number 2?
Yeah.
Wow, that is just unbelievably awful.
12 races. 12 races left if you include Hungary.
All right. What makes the season so special already isn't just the fact that we have different people at the top of the podium. It's everything coloring the season between the lines. It's on-track drama. Lando Norris, Verstappen, friendly rivalry, some of the emotional moments we've seen in years. Who is this? What is this? Finally racing at home in China.
Yeah, Zhu Guanyu. They went back to China. It was his first opportunity to race as a Formula One driver back in China. They had been gone from the country for several years. Went back, and he got a lot of press in his home country as a result of that. So good for him.
And Charles Leclerc winning for his father at Monaco.
Mm-hmm.
The Alpine drivers Why do they say that? It's the Alpine drivers feuding seemingly every week.
They've crashed into each other a number of times.
And okay, let's see. Hamilton, yes, of course, ends the drought. When was the last time he did win? Is that it? 44 races?
Yeah, it's been a while. So I don't think he won last year. I think it would have been the year before.
For the second straight week, Verstappen and Norris were the heavy favorites to win. For the second straight week, mistakes helped hand Mercedes a victory. So yes, this had all everything about Great Britain. And then they talk about the race some more here. Did you notice Nico Hülkenberg secured a sixth place finish?
Of course I noticed. He's a Haas. Always looking at those two. And again, Hülkenberg is the one that's outperforming Kevin Magnussen, which goes to my comments earlier on Ollie Behrman coming in. Magnussen, if they're going to cut anyone, Hülkenberg's been the one that's still been delivering the goods. You can argue that Magnussen's very much been a team player and everything that he's done to be able to help Hülkenberg get to where he is, but it was a great drive from Hülkenberg in very tricky conditions. And looking back at Lewis Hamilton's stats, it was 2 years that he went winless. So he's broken that streak, obviously, getting back to victory lane a week ago in Great Britain at home.
Sergio Perez is under serious pressure at Red Bull after the triple header. Why is that?
Yeah, apparently it came out that despite the fact that Red Bull went ahead and gave him an extension or a renewal on his contract, apparently there are performance clauses within it. So if he doesn't step up and start performing and meet those benchmarks that he's got to deliver on from a contract perspective, Red Bull has the opportunity to ditch him. And quite honestly, I was shocked when they went ahead and gave him the renewal, considering how well he's performed. And then I think the race after that, he immediately went out and finished last or something like that. Something just horrible. Didn't make it out of Q3 qualifying, I think, that week as well. So Perez just having an awful time of it. He ended up finishing 17th out of 20 folks a week ago at the British Grand Prix, or 2 weeks ago, I guess, at this point. But yeah, he's got a load of problems. We'll see if he's able to turn things around. I think he should be able to. The question is how much of it is mental versus how much of it is just underperformance. I think a lot of it at this point is mental.
All right, now we get to a more current newsletter this week. One of the storylines, Daniel Ricciardo returns. So what's this about?
Daniel Ricciardo
returns.
Maybe stepping up in performance. Let's
see. This was the news of the summer. Much maligned rookie Nick De Vries got 10 races at AlphaTauri to prove he was worthy of opportunity. Instead, he retired twice, managed his 2 points, and never qualified in the top 10. So Red Bull pulled the plug and gave a seat to Ricciardo, is that how you pronounce it? Ricciardo, who returned to the grid at Hungary. At the time, we wrote that Ricciardo had nothing to lose and everything to gain. This whole saga isn't just a mixed bag; it's still ongoing as Ricciardo simultaneously fends off threats to his seat. Let's see, the De Vries denouement felt massive at the time. Blah blah blah. So was that anything interesting? No.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit. Daniel Ricciardo has won at Hungary in the past. I guess that is a reminder that this was the race that sealed his fate before when he got removed from his race seat. So now he's making a triumphant return as a full-time driver, perhaps. But they are right. I think Daniel Ricciardo is in a bit of a quandary. I think there are still threats to his seat. Back at Canada, we might have talked a little bit about Jacques Villeneuve, former Formula One champion from Canada, heavily criticized Daniel Ricciardo, and Ricciardo responded, came out and had a good performance at Canada. So can he do so again? I think that's exactly what he needs to do if he wants to stay on as a full-time driver and not get removed again. But I don't think he's going to get removed this season. I think if anything happens, he may end up being one of the ones that's left out of the musical chairs in the off-season.
How about this one? Alpine fires team principal and CEO.
Not surprising considering the turmoil that was referenced in the last newsletter. The team, not happy with both of its drivers. From time to time, they've crashed into each other. They've had lots of mistakes. Alpine last year was much further up the grid. Now they were at least at the top of the mid-pack battle, one of those that could have been at the top of the mid-pack battle, maybe even taken a step farther. But this year they've absolutely taken a step back, and that is why they're under a lot of pressure. So you got to change something there.
All right, what is this? The Red Bull RB17 is Adrian Newey's Utopia car.
Yep, a concept car that Adrian Newey's been working at in partnership with Red Bull. This was the last thing that he wanted to really focus on before departing Red Bull, and it was officially unveiled at Goodwood as expected. Lots of hype around that. One-off supercar there, just kind of pushing the boundaries of what designers can do these days with all the technology. Adrian Newey is certainly still at the top of his game. It'd be great to see him remain in Formula One. The question is just where.
All right, now let's get into the numbers here. So this is of course, you got Verstappen. Now it's still over, right? There's no way Verstappen can't win the championship. There
is definitely a way that he can't win the championship. It's just not looking very likely. He's got an 84-point lead over Lando Norris, who's still got a long way to go. Anything could happen. He could end up getting injured, could have just maybe McLaren, maybe Mercedes, maybe Ferrari come back from the break and just become super dominant. Not likely, but it's entirely possible that he could still lose it mathematically.
All right.
Not likely.
Okay. Yeah, didn't think so. All right, so here's the odds. Look at the odds. Holy mackerel. It's almost even. What's going on here?
Well, you've got recent weeks of Verstappen and Red Bull struggling. However, I do think Hungary is a much different track. Hungary is a short, tight track. It's full of very slow corners, heavy braking. If we don't see weather interrupting the race, I think this one might be straightforward, and I think Max Verstappen and Red Bull get in the driver's seat again. Verstappen has won here in the past without qualifying well, too. So keep that in mind. Usually we talk about Verstappen needing to be on pole. If he's on pole, he wins. If he's not, it's anybody's guess. Here at Hungary, he has a habit of not winning from pole. So I think you've got to keep that in mind this year this week coming into this race. He won the last two, but he started on pole in neither of those. In fact, he started 10th in 2022. He did start on the front row last year, so definitely something to keep in mind. If the weather holds out and it remains dry, I think Max Verstappen is the rightful favorite this week. Lando Norris, if McLaren doesn't let him down, I think they're the logical next choice.
That number's pretty low for Lando Norris. It's at the point right now where I go, well, why would I not jump all? Because if I decide to go at Lando Norris and Max Verstappen wins and I didn't take him at minus 135, I'm going to feel like a big idiot. So,
exactly right.
Is it one of those weeks where you either take Max or you just got to go with someone else? You can't take Lando Norris this week. This is not the week to take him based on the odds.
Yep, I would agree. And if you do take him, he's going to have to start on pole, and you're going to have to put that wager on Saturday night or Sunday morning, right? I think Max Verstappen, even up until that point, like if you see chinks in the Red Bull armor, or if you see problems with Max Verstappen that aren't explainable, knowing that he's won both times from not being on the pole here, then I think you end up taking Lando Norris or first thing Sunday morning before the race kicks off, or maybe very late on Saturday. But yeah, I think Max Verstappen, Red Bull, clearly the bets that you've got to take this week.
Okay, and yeah, nothing else really to go on here. Was there anything else? I don't know if they had the same props. Might have to check the other site for that. Because the other ones, what are the other? Was there anything else that you would look into for this race this week, odds-wise?
So DraftKings, if you look at their odds, I was looking at those this morning. They have a prop for podium finish. The Ferraris actually looked pretty.
Oh wait, just for podium finish. Here it is. Yeah.
Just for podium finish. Yeah. Oh, there you go. So yeah, Leclerc, not as rich as what we were getting on, or what I recall on DraftKings this morning.
Well, that's why Superbook actually is more reliable. These are the odds that really are more likely what you're going to get.
Yeah, I wouldn't go for that here. The DraftKings odds that I recall being this morning were something like double that, even more. So definitely, if you're going to want, if you want to do the podium bets, it looks like DraftKings might have better values for you, but I do think the Superbook's probably much more realistic. I think it's pretty predictable who's going to end up on the podium. It's going to be a Red Bull, it's going to be either a Mercedes or a McLaren, and potentially a Ferrari, and that's why you're getting the best value on a Ferrari on DraftKings here for the podium finish. Oh no, it came down. This morning it was higher.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well, that's what happens. People can wager on it and numbers drop. Okay, so anything else odds-wise?
No, I think this weekend's pretty straightforward. If we have rain, that kind of throws everything into the wind, but assuming it remains clear, Max Verstappen has won the last 2 here, and he's won them from not being on pole. So I'm not going to worry too much if he doesn't end up getting pole, which he hasn't been the past couple of weeks. But I still think Max Verstappen, the Red Bull, the change in this track being totally set on slow corners is going to play to their favor. They're going to be able to get their car working better than everyone else. And I think Max Verstappen ends up with the win. It'll be close again, but I do think Max Verstappen and Red Bull have the edge.
Yeah, I mean, this is the week that normal bettors in the world can actually wager on F1 if they like. They can take whoever they want. They don't have to take Max. They can take whoever they want. First time that I could ever recall talking because we know it didn't happen last year. So
Absolutely.
First time that, because we've only been talking F1 for a year and a half here on this network. So this is the week to take Max. We'll see how it goes. And next up is Belgium, right?
You got it. Belgium coming up, one of the best tracks on the calendar. Love it.
All right. So CJ will be out next week. Of course, NASCAR's out next week. CJ's on vacation, but we will have a report, a very short, condensed report from regarding the race, the Belgian Grand Prix. So look out for that next week here on Mystery Caution. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Let us know what's on your mind regarding what you'd like to see us talk about here. If there's anything that we haven't talked about to help you in fantasy or, of course, in gambling on the race or any race, of course, in F1. Don't also forget to check out the link in the description for the fantasy report, F1, rotowire.com. It will be available on Friday. So if you haven't already looked, if it's not Friday yet, come back on Friday and check it out. CJ, enjoy your vacation and good luck with the race this week.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
You got it.